Hey guys, Kove Camel ADV. We're going to do the install video tonight for the Camel gut guard on the Kove 800X. The skid plate will fit the Rally or the Pro. Either way, there's no changes between the plates, so you don't need to worry about ordering the right variant. Fits on both. The install is really straightforward. Minimal tools, minimal fasteners with it, really. We've tested the hell out of this plate. Been kind of all over with it since I got the bike. I want to say in March, mid-March. We've kind of beat the hell out of it. And this skid plate has done extremely well. You're going to love it, I'm sure. The Kove, like most new adventure bikes, doesn't have lower frame rails to mount a skid plate to, which makes things a bit annoying, to be fair. But we have our energy absorbing subframe plate here. We use it on the Pan America as well as the Aprilia Touareg, and it has held up extremely well. So we're using that same system here on the Kove. So we're going to take the original plate off, and then this is going to bolt to the bottom of the sump. So it's got crumple zones in here. So if you really bash it, you're going to save your sump. This will get twisted up, but it is replaceable. The skid plate's got a linkage guard on it as well. And the plate itself is 3/16 aluminum 5052 welded inside and out, and it's powder coated, lightweight and super strong. And then we've got two 3/16 stainless front mounting brackets as well. In your kit, there will be some paperwork and some stickers. Please read the paperwork. We get bombarded with emails if we make a slight change to a fastener. It's a Torx head now instead of a Allen head. We may have a supply issue or something, so we'll just even switch a head size, and we'll get bombarded with emails saying, this doesn't match the video, what the hell's going on? There will be paperwork in your kit. If there's changes to the kit, they will be communicated in the paper. If you start to do the install and you go, hey, wait a minute, I don't have the thing, please read the paper. 99% chance it has been addressed in the paperwork, and you have all the parts you need. So first order of business, we're going to take the original skid plate off of here. So there's 4 bolts to hold it. And then there's some brackets we need to take off as well. So these are T30 Torx. If you have an electric impact, it really speeds up the install. And then we've got 2 underneath here. And then we've got 1 over on this side here. And you can set all these fasteners aside. We're not going to reuse them. And this skid plate as well. And while we're over here, we're going to take this bracket off. So it's a 10 mil or a T40 Torx. So when you take this bracket off, you can leave this hole empty. It doesn't need to have the bolt go back in it. Come back to the left side of the bike here. We have this mount, and it is sandwiched here between the bolts for the oil pan. And they're also T30. You can set the bracket aside. We do need to keep the bolts though. So one of these bolts is slightly longer. It goes right over here by the oil filter cap. And then the shorter goes in the back. And you need to be careful if you are using the impact gun. Do not overdo it. I'll put the torque specs for these bolts. I'll make notes in the video here. But just don't over tighten those. We've got that OE skid plate off, so we can start assembling the new one. We've got our UHMW Linkage Guard. It's going to go on top of the skid plate. So you need a number 4 Allen and a 10 mil socket or wrench. Just going to go into the fastener pack here. So in your fastener pack here, we've got 4 M6x20 flatheads, got 4 flat washers and 4 nylocks. And that's for the linkage guard. The skid plate is countersunk for these fasteners. So I'm going to get 2 started here so it's a little easier to hold. So we're just going to put the Allen wrench into the bolt head, and then we're just going to snug this up. And you're going to end up with a thread or 2 sticking out of the bolt. And that guy's ready to go. So from this point on, all of the fasteners we're putting back on are going to get blue Loctite. It is important that when you start doing this, you finish it in a reasonable amount of time, because we need to put Loctite on the bolts. We're going to put them in loose, and then we're going to get everything fit, and then we're going to start tightening things down. But if you wait too long, the Loctite will start to harden. Loctite is an anaerobic glue, so when it has oxygen, it's liquid and it won't dry. As soon as there's no oxygen, it starts to dry right away, which is why if you get a drop of this on your workbench, it never hardens. It's just always there because there is oxygen available. So as soon as we put this on the bolt and thread it into the hole, the amount of oxygen goes down drastically and it starts to set up. So you do want to work pretty quick with this. So we're going to get a few things loosened off so that when we start working, we can just get after it. Our front mounting bracket here is going to go behind the crash bar and onto this bolt here, and that's going to attach to the skid plate once we get that on. So we're going to loosen these off, and then same on the other side, and then we'll put this stuff in and start putting Loctite. Probably should have started with this. You need a 4mm Allen. You want a 14mm socket, a 12mm socket. You're going to want a short 1/4" extension, or whatever size sockets you have, you need that extension if it's 3/8, whatever. 10mm socket, a 5mm Allen, a 14mm wrench, a T30 Torx, a ratchet handle for it, and some cutters here so we can snip the end off the blue Loctite tube here that we've included. Because we're putting this behind here, this is going to get kicked out about 3mm. We don't need to put a spacer behind here. There's plenty of flex in this that we can just sandwich the bracket behind here without any issues. So I'm going to take the impact with the 12mm. I'm going to take this bolt out completely. And then the 14 I'm going to take out completely as well. And then we're going to take a little bit of blue Loctite here. If you've watched any of my other install videos, you know we basically put blue Loctite on everything. These bikes take a beating. There's so much vibration and stuff with knobby tires and washboard road and embedded rock and things like that, that it's just a really good idea to put Loctite on all this stuff. So we're going to take the M8 bolt here, put it back in the top. Let's line this up a little bit better. Yep, right there. And then we're going to take our M10 and get it back in here. And like I said, we're going to leave these loose. We're just going to get them kind of snugged up a little bit, and then I'll back it off. You just want to be able to, you just want to make sure that you can wiggle the brackets when we're trying to get alignment on things. So we want this wiggle here. Then we'll go around the other side and do the same thing. So we've got the same deal on this side. We're going to take the 12. Take it completely out. If you look here, we've got the water pump and the hose. So you cannot get this bolt out without taking off the hose. If you take the hose off, then you have to drain all the antifreeze and put it back in and purge it and everything else. So we're not doing that. So you're gonna take a 14mm wrench and you're gonna back this bolt out. If you have a ratcheting ring wrench, you can get started with that. Just don't run it out too far, because then you won't be able to get it out when you're done, but you can save a little bit of time here. And then just back this out. You want about a 1/4" or 6mm, something like that. This is the only bolt that's not going to get Loctite, because we can't get it out without the coolant hose. So just keep that in mind. So this side bracket's got a notch in it, so the bracket can go on that way, gets bolted here, and of course any load on the skid plate is going this direction. So it's going to be pivoting off this one and have full strength into that one. So we're not losing anything by having this kind of open. On your bike, you've got this hole here, and we've got these wires. They will be in a push pin kind of connector that keeps them there. So you're going to snip that connector. Of course, this is already off because we had a skid plate on, and then we've included zip ties, and there's a hole here for the lower rad support. Just put the zip tie through there and then tie this stuff to that. You also might have to rotate your horn a little bit out of the way. And if you need to do that, it's just this little bolt here, and you can just turn it in. When you put this bracket in here, just make sure that your oxygen sensor lead isn't rubbing on the bracket, because it will wear through rapidly if you do. So I just tuck that guy in there like that. And then again, our M8. And we can't get the 10 out, so it's not going to get Loctite. And when you're putting this back in, if you're not 100%, make sure you do it nice and slow. Make sure that you haven't cross-threaded anything, because this is kind of a bad spot if you have to put a Healy coil in here or redo threads. Okay, so just leave that a little bit loose. So we've still got a little bit of movement here, so we'll be able to get the skid plate on there. Like I said, we've got the horn moved out of the way. Just make sure this sensor lead is not contacting it, and everything is run nice and clean. You can give this a little bit of a bend here to get it away. And now we can start on the subframe plate. You're gonna dig through your fastener pack. There are 4 M6x25 socket head caps, 4 large flange M6 fender washers, and then we have the 2 different heights of spacers here. So these are 7/16, these are 1/8. The subframe plate here, you can see the 4 thread holes here on the bottom of the sump. So our fasteners here are going to hold that to those 4 holes. The large part of the subframe plate goes towards the front, and also it gets the large spacers. So your plate is going to look like that, with bolts coming up from the bottom. Even though the spacers are longer on the front, we're using the same size bolts. There is enough thread depth in the back holes on the oil sump that we can get the 25s in there. If you are struggling to get these installed and these guys keep sliding all over the place, you can take, if you have a little bit of silicone or something, Permatex, whatever, just put a little dab on the back here and you can stick those on. So we're going to start on the front here. And we have the spacers between the subframe plate and the oil sump because these guys are inset, so we can't go straight across, but we wanted the spacers to be absolutely as short as they could to minimize leverage. So that started, so we're going to take another long spacer here. So we're going to take another bolt and one of the longer spacers, and we can finish the front. And I'm just putting these in like half a turn by hand so it stays where it's supposed to. And then we're going to take another bolt and another spacer, and we're going to do the same. Start that. And then the last one here. So these holes are slotted. So again, we're just going to tighten these up a little bit. We're not going to super suck them down. And this is what I mean about working quick. By the time we get done with this, the Loctite on the front brackets will have been put on, 10 or 15 minutes ago kind of thing. So it will be well on its way to tacking up. And I'm just putting the bolts in here until basically they're snug, and then I'm just kind of backing it off like a quarter turn sort of thing. So we have a little bit of movement here. We have 6 M8x16s that are going to hold the skid plate to the subframe plate. So we're going to put those on right now. Again, Loctite. And when you put these on, you can snug them right up right away. Or I shouldn't say right away. When we go to put these bolts in, we're going to put the Loctite on them, and we're going to fully tighten them because they're not slotted. There's no give in them. They're countersunk holes, so the plate has to go where it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So we'll get them all started so we can get all 6 in properly, and then we'll tighten those up. And yeah, again, Loctite is your friend. I should actually count how many times I say that in the average install video. And I say it because the number of emails we get from people that are like, hey, this bracket fell off. It's like, well, we included red Loctite. What do you mean it fell off? Oh, I don't know, I was just riding down the road and it fell off, so I need a replacement. Oh, okay. Strange. All right, I'm gonna take the skid plate here. I should say, if you see on the back here, there's this little notchy cutout, and then we've got the linkage protector. So those two basically mate or interact very closely with each other. So if you're trying to put this up and you can't get it started, it's likely that you're caught up on that. So just have a good look there. And then we're going to grab the last 4 bolts that are in your kit. So these are M8 by 20s, and then we have countersunk washers. Just get these guys started here. And because everything's loose, you might have to put a little bit of pressure to get things going. That is okay. Just make sure nothing's cross-threaded. And if you're in doubt whether it's threaded properly, absolutely do these by hand. Don't use an impact. Don't use a big long ratchet. Just make sure that they go in nice and easy. Yep, like that. So we're going to go to the other side and do the same thing. So now we can start fully tightening this stuff. And then we are going to take our 14mm wrench here again, and we're going to fully tighten this one. And then we need to come to the bottom here, and we've got these access holes so that we can get at the bolts that hold the plate to the subframe, or the subframe to the oil sump, I should say. So we've got the access holes on the bottom of the skid plate for a couple of reasons. One, of course, is to tighten them so we can move the skid plate or the subframe plate back and forth to get everything aligned. And then the other thing is on the plate, these are PEM nuts. So these are embedded nuts here. And they're super strong. We don't ever have any issues with them. But the skid plate, being that your bolts are largely exposed here, you can smash these on rocks and then you get that stripped out and you can't get these out, and then you got to fight with them. Or if you happen to seize one onto the embedded nut and you spin it and then you can't get it out, you're kind of in a bad spot because you can't get in here to grab that. So if that happens, if you mangle one of these bolts and you can't get it out, or you cross thread it into the PEM nut, then you can come along and you can just take these 4 bolts out and then remove it here from the front and you're good to go. That wraps up the install for the Camel ADV gut guard for the Kove 800X. If you have any questions, as always, info@camel-adv.com. Thanks for watching.